Good afternoon. Welcome to spring blossom time. Yes, we're so happy to arrive. March 20th, 2025, and I pulled out a special black patent and pink flowered spring handbag today. And I am going to a special lunch today, and so I am going to carry this. Won't that be fun? Well, if you haven't gotten your tea yet, please pause and get your tea, and I'll be waiting for you. And I have prepared something so special for you today. And I put a little rose on the tea tray. Let's move it back a little bit. And I just have kept it simple, but pink, pink, pink. Isn't that beautiful? And I tell you, now the pitcher, the tea pitcher and the cream pitcher, or teapot, I should say, they are Bavarian, but my darling little cup, which I absolutely love. This is one of my favorites forever. It's called Spring Blossom Time, Royal Albert, and it has the wonderful cherry trees. Oh my goodness, it is so special. I love pink, and I thought, I'm putting as much pink on for you today as I can. Well, if you haven't gotten your tea, pause and I'll be waiting for you. Let's pour out. And I'm using a brisk King Charles tea today. God bless King Charles. And a splash of milk. And we're listening to Vivaldi's Four Seasons, Spring. It's so fascinating. Antonio Vivaldi wrote this fabulous piece during Renaissance, end of Renaissance in Italy. And it has become so popular. You know, it's winter, spring, summer, and fall. And I just love it. I want to tell you a story about this teacup, Blossom Time. A dear friend of mine, Elizabeth, she's a friend of the tea table. She's been on the tea table. Well, she loves this Blossom Time also. And she just had one cup. I only have one cup. Well, she was thrifting in Spokane a couple of summers ago. She walked in a thrift shop, and they're sitting in a box, not properly presented really at all, just underneath all kinds of china wrapped in paper. There was a teapot that was not this, but it was Spring Blossom. Royal Albert, very rare, very special. So she asked the man, well, what do you want for this box of china? Because underneath were a variety of pieces, like 20 pieces of different shapes. And it comes with a wonderful luncheon plate that is square. Lo and behold, he said $5. Oh, so she came home with this jewel box filled with spring blossom. So if you're ever thrifting and you see one, get one for yourself, because that's where I don't know where I even found this. It's been in my china closet for years, and I've always treasured it, and I've always liked to use it when spring comes. Royal Albert and the china, there was an era where they were doing scenes, and I have another cup from a different company called, what is it called? White Cliffs of Dover. and it's painted with the white cliffs of Dover. So I think I've used it on here before. Well, I put flowers in my hair for spring, and I'm wearing my pink daisy earrings, and they have daisies and flowers, and everyone I talk to is so ready for spring and sunshine. Are you? I've seen blossoms, finally, little cherry blossoms coming. This is actually the latest spring I ever remember. But I want to tell you that you are all so special to me, and I appreciate your comments. I appreciate your appreciation. We are kindred hearts on the tea table, aren't we? Yes. And I know you love flowers and tea, and now we can think about going outside, and however, we have a whole month until Easter, and it's still very cold where I am, but we have the promise of spring. Yes. Well, I was thinking about the seasons, and I thought, what a graphic picture of God's plan for the ages. You know, when I teach my class, I always start with Genesis. Whatever class I'm teaching, I always start with Genesis. Whether it's church history, because I go back and I do a quick review of Old Testament before we start. If it's history of worship, I certainly begin with Cain and Abel and Genesis. And then when I taught missiology, I went all the way back to Genesis and I start with this premise, and this is what I want to give you all today. God has a people, a plan, and a purpose. 3 P's. God has a people, a plan, and a purpose. And if we allow God to come into our hearts and into our lives, we are part of the people, plan, and purpose. Isn't that beautiful? It's open for everyone. Well, my husband is writing a paper right now on the resurrection. He was asked to write this. And as he was reading part of it to me, I said, wow, that is so perfect for Easter, and of course it is, the resurrection is Easter, but it's the time of year. Everything has died, and then we have blossoms and sprouts and flowers and new life. And every year, all of these plants go through the same cycle: winter, spring, summer, and fall. And they're all balanced with approximately a 3-month period. And they all bring different color and different beauty. And they are really, what I realize is they are telling us the story. You know, in the book of Psalms, it says, the heavens declare the glories of God. Well, that's the stars show forth his handiwork. That's the big, huge, macro picture of God. And the more they study the stars and the lineup in the planets, how they match with even the little mini human cells, there's analogies, because everything is moving, everything is changing, everything is growing, and then there's the life cycle. Death, new life, the summer, the planting, the fall, the harvest, and then it recycles. Isn't that just such a beautiful picture for us? Well, I have a good word for you today and for me. Whatever word I give you, I'm giving myself. And that word is, don't let anyone take your joy, create stress in your life. Don't let anything create stress, because the words of Christ are true. Jesus said, don't worry, don't fear, don't worry. Isn't that fabulous? If we trust him and know that he is directing our lives, we can walk with a quiet peaceful, beautiful heart that sees the good and overlooks the bad. Because there's a verse in 1 Corinthians 13, and it says, it's the love chapter, and one of the verses is, love doesn't notice when others do it wrong. Whoa, that's big. Then there's another verse. Love covers a multitude of sins. Sometimes there are people in our lives, they are very stressed out. They say things they don't really mean. They react in ways they don't mean to react. But our call is not to double react. Our call is to bring peace. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. Isn't that beautiful? It's not too high of a calling. It's a beautiful calling, because when we walk in peace, that means we're really strong. We're overcoming evil with good. We're looking to see the good in our fellow man, not the bad. We're looking for the beauty and not the ugly. We're looking for God and not evil. So at the top of my pile of books came this up. Up this came, I'll say it properly. This is my wish for you. And it's a book, and it's a beautiful book. And I think I showed this one other time. This artist is very, very, at least this picture, this is a combination of artists, but I love the art in here. And it starts out, this is my wish for you, that the spirit of beauty may continually hover about you and fold you close within the tenderness of her wings. And then there's that picture. Okay. We won't do the whole book. We're just going to do a few. That each beautiful and gracious thing in life may be unto you as a symbol of good for your soul's delight. Isn't that beautiful? And, oh, this is beautiful. That the sun glories will be yours. This is such a beautiful book. I'm just going to read the last page because I thought it was so beautiful today. That happiness may put her arms around you. And wisdom make your soul serene. Isn't that beautiful? And that is my wish for you. Yes, for all of you on the tea table. It is so pleasant to be entering spring. And you know, ever since I've been very young, I used to have poetry books that I would read in autumn and read the autumn poems. And then in spring, I have such a strong memory of my second year of college, Northwest University, and it was English literature, and it was Professor Dorwart, and he would take us outside, and on the lawn we would read the spring romantic poets. I remember reading Lord Byron. That's when I was introduced to the English romantic, Keats and Shelley, Lord Byron. Those are spring poets to me. And I love poetry, and I do write some poetry, and I know many of you do also. I will share some of my poetry eventually on the tea table. But for today, I just want to wish all of you beautiful spring. And as soon as it's nice, go outside and enjoy that beauty. I love the little crocuses coming up, and the daffodils are going to be coming, and we have an abundance of bulb flowers in the Pacific Northwest because we have so much rain, very similar to Holland. And this darling little cup, blossom time, isn't it sweet? We are in blossom time. And I really believe that each season we are to fill our eyes with the beauty God has created around us. And I'm hoping to maybe go up to the tulip fields. They're up in Skagit County. There are as many tulips, I've been told, in Skagit County as there are in Holland. And I haven't been up there for quite a while. It's a long trip, but up I-5, as the crow flies, it would be short across the bay. But because we live in where the Puget Sound, we always have to go around the bay, and so it's much longer. But I'm hoping to carve out a little time and just let my eyes feast on the beauty of the tulips. Yes. Well, thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope that you are having a wonderful week. And have a little tea tray. Set yourself a little tea tray. Look how little it is. And just have tea. And if you don't have anyone to have tea with, have tea alone. It's very cozy. And take time to read a poem. Listen to a good song, or even listen to a book. Wonderful books are read online, LibriVox. I've done that sometimes. Or read your own book. But take time to feed your soul, and you will have more to give out to others. I will close with just one thought. Always stay green and fresh as far as possible. My husband is a psychologist, and years ago he said, one of the most important things he learned as a basic principle in helping others is to let his help and life and flow come from the abundance, the overflow of the fountain. We all have a fountain within us. And he said, don't ever go down to your reserves, because that's when people get burned out. So in the realm of spiritual things, it is allowing God to fill our cup and then let it splash over to others. And take care of yourself. Don't go down to the reserves. Yes, keep everything green, fresh, and growing in your heart and life. Thank you so much for joining me. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe, push the notification, and share with someone, please. And if you liked it, like it, and share a comment. I love your comments. Thank you so much. And I will look forward to seeing you next time. Yes. God bless.